back everyone, it's Sylvia from Aussie Scrapper, and today's layout, confession time, took me quite a while to do, and I mean a couple of days, because I couldn't decide what I wanted to do. I went through and pulled out anything that was boy related from my stash, but that didn't make me happy. Then I decided, the September Kidaholics kit was very masculine, so I pulled that all out and I went through the papers and I went through the ephemera and everything else that was in the kit. But it was too masculine for me, or too masculine for these photos, I thought. So then I found this stencil of a leaf, and I went, perfect. Now what am I going to do with this stencil? But it ends up being the inspiration for this whole layout, this leaf. And that's because the photos that I'm scrapping are of my son when he used to spend a lot of time in the trees at home. And being on a property, there are lots of trees, so you can imagine sometimes it was a bit hard to find him, and if I couldn't find him, he just had to walk around and look up in the trees. And I'm so glad I got to document this phase that he went through. So you saw me bring out all my bits and pieces from my stash of green paper, and then I went to my silhouette machine and I used one of the, what are they called? Cut dies? No, not cut dies. Oh my gosh, my brain. One of their cut files, that's it. One of their cut files to cut out my leaf. And then I'm doing what I see Missy do quite a bit, and that is use my bits and pieces of paper to paper pierce this leaf. So what I'm going to do is, so you get the gist of the idea, I'm just going to put this on really, really, really fast so you can see what I did, but without me boring you to death and making this a very long video. So there's my leaf all done, and I'm really happy with it. So as I know I'm going to do some mixed media, I'm using some basil marshmallow cardstock, and that way I don't have to do any gesso in. So what do I do first? Yes, I decided I'm going to try and see what stencil I can use. At this point in time, I really don't know what I'm going to be doing, but I do have an idea that I want to be using like orange and browns in this layout due to the fact that it is winter. So I'm going to just be cutting a sliver from all four sides of the cardstock, as I know that later down the track I will be framing this layout. And then I just play around with my photos to see how the composition of this, I guess. I just realised that the inspiration from this layout all came from stencils. The leaf was from a stencil, and now these three trees that I cut out on my silhouette machine also came from one of my stencils. I'm just going to tear a page out of this old book, and then I'm going to rip it into a number of small pieces, and then I will stick it down onto my cardstock using some clear glaze medium gel, I guess. It's just a light surface sealer, and it also acts like a clear gesso, so for when I apply my gelatos. I don't really need to use this sealer as it's a basil marshmallow and it's going to take mixed media anyway, but the reason why I am using the sealer is because I needed to use some kind of glue, so I just thought, well, I might as well kill two birds with one stone. And this sealer is really light, it's not heavy like any glues, and I can then just apply it over the top of those pieces of paper because they need to be gessoed so that I can then apply all my mixed media over the top. I'm going to be having some fun with some colour bursts, and the first colour I'm going to be using is sepia, and all I do is sprinkle it on the top and then use some water to activate the colour, and then I just move the paper around so that the paper can move around the page and form all sorts of lovely patterns. I keep doing this till I'm sort of happy with the outcome, and then just dab up any excess with some paper towel that I had there. And then the next colour that I use is yellow ochre. So the same procedure, switch it around, and it's so much fun. Once I'm happy with my colour bursts, I will be going in with some Kaisercraft Kaisermist, And the first colour that I use is yellow, and then I spray some Kaisermist in the colour orange. I'm now going to do some actual stenciling, and I'm using some modelling paste. So I just apply it randomly throughout the page. No rhyme or reason for it. Just slap it on there. It's a quick dry with the heat gun, and then on to my next step. I'm just now looking for some embroidery threads because I will be doing some stitching on this sleeve. But I just put everything back on the cardstock on the page just to see how it's all fitting and how I think I might want to lay down my photos and play around with my trees and everything, my own homemade embellishments. And I'm not really sure what I do after all this. Oh yes, I then decide that I'm going to match my photo on this scrap of cardstock that I had, patterned cardstock that I had. And I just used my Perfect Layers ruler to give it a nice small border all around. And then I start punching all my holes. No, piercing all my holes. What's that word that you say? It's piercing, isn't it? Piercing all my holes on my leaf. And do not worry, I do not bore you with that. So I just showed you a quick look. And then it's on to the fun part. Putting some colour onto my trees. I added some gesso to my trees as I had used just ordinary cardstock, and I knew that I was going to do some gelatos, use my gelatos I should say. And yeah, I started off with this sort of golden colour on all three trees, and then I move on to some other colours to add a bit more depth to the trees. I do a second coat of this colour on the tree because it was just a bit too light for my liking. Then I go in with my distress crayon, and the colour is Vintage Photo, and I'm just adding some depth to the tree. Now you will notice that I don't put colour on all over the place. I just mark it onto certain areas and then just rub it with my fingers. And that's just to add some shadows and some depth and a bit of contrast to the tree. I wanted to give these trees a bit more texture, so I'm adding this product called Goosebumps, which is similar to a grazing medium, and I just spray it on and spread it with a paintbrush. I'm really happy with how these trees turned out. When I was gluing down my trees, what I did was I just added glue to the trunk of the tree and just the first part of the branches at the top, but all the little twigs all around the top, I didn't put any glue to it, just to add a bit more dimension, and it actually makes them look a bit more three-dimensional, if that makes any sense. I like how this looks now. The only thing is, I wish I hadn't stuck down those bits of ripped pages from that book. I think it would have looked so much nicer without those, and I can't peel them off because they're stuck really hard to the page. Believe me, I did try. Anyway, to get over that, I moved along and I got my distress marker, my distress crayon in Vintage Photo, and I'm just adding shadows to the trees, as you can see. And not only do I add them to the trees, I add a bit of shadow and just to blend it all into all those bits of stuck down pages that are all over the place. My title is going to be Every Day in Every Way I Love You, and I started off by using these alpha stickers from Kaisercraft, and all I did was I stuck them down with some double-sided tape on top of some fun foam that I get from one of the junk shops in Windsor. For my title, I will also be using some Delish Sassy rub-on letters that I had in my stash. And I'm just going to rub them onto some scrap white cardstock. I also will be using some Kaisercraft mini alpha stickers to write my title on this layout. And before I forget, I must give credit to the wonderful person who came up with this title, because this title is not my own. I did take it from someone's post on Pinterest. And being the silly person that I am, I didn't write that person's name, so sorry, whoever you are, but thank you for a lovely title because I absolutely love it. I had this word love sitting on my desk for a while now, but it was the wrong colour. It was a lovely gold, but I wanted it black. So I'm just using my Starlights metallic paint in black to change it, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. Off camera, I did the stitching on my leaf, and now I'm just going to use the leaf as a template to try to give the photos a bit of a leaf shape, just at the top, nowhere else. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to adhere everything down to the page, but I do that all off camera. I stick the title down, I stick my photos down, but I do mount my photos on some fun foam just to make them pop off the page a bit more. And this layout is almost complete. I found this bit of a border strip that I had in my stash there from some project that was left over, and I'll end up cutting it and putting some on that top corner and some in the bottom corner, as you'll see me do. I will then use one of the tiny words stickers from the Love Always collection, or from Cocoa Vanilla, and it reads, "You are my happy." And finally, I'm going to add as a border some olive green cardstock, and that will be it for this layout. And as always, thank you for watching, thank you for subscribing, and until next time, take care everyone.